morning we're going to do Satanama. And Sa is the first finger, Ta, Na, Ma. And you do this through the whole chant, singing Satanama. Each time you choose, you close a mudra by joining the thumb with a finger. Your ego seals its effect in your consciousness. So you are becoming very holy when you do this.
Good morning, everyone. A medical researcher received a grant to study the hypothesis that stress causes ulcers. And his laboratory ordered for him 5 dogs to experiment with. After 2 weeks, he gave the dogs back because he could not figure out a way to stress a dog. And people are different. People are stressed out all over the place. And as researchers continue to study, they're coming more and more into the understanding that spiritual masters down through the ages have understood, which is that stress is mind-made and self-imposed. Even though people suffer from stress all over the place, it is mind-made and self-imposed. I'll be exploring this a little bit this morning with you. In my late teens, I took a job with a company named Yardley's of London. Maybe some of you women are familiar with it. Yardley's of London manufactured makeup, hand lotion, eye makeup, perfume, all kinds of different soaps and hairspray and deodorant and cologne. And this company that I went to work for had a shipping area where they had 4 packers, 4 guys that packed boxes of the products that had to be shipped out to the different stores in the country that had ordered the Yardley products. Beside each packer on this line of packing, there was a huge container on wheels with several shelves filled with the Yardley products. And beside the packers, there is a stack of cardboard boxes of different sizes. And you have to understand how stressing that job was, because when I was there and the supervisor was breaking me in, he had me watch the line of 4 packers, and they looked like maniacs, sweating and trying to get these boxes packed as fast as they could, because in fact it was a time clock situation in that company. In other words, they each received an hourly wage, but beside that, they received a bonus for every box over their quota that they packed. So they were just going as fast as they can to do this. And you can imagine that it was not an easy job, because with all the different items that a store could order from Yardley's, they were all packaged different sizes, different shapes. And with the packaging and with this big bin full of Yardley products, there were these cardboard wedges and things like that that you used to secure the items in the box so that they wouldn't be loose or smack into each other in transit and break. They didn't have styrofoam back then. I don't know, maybe they did, but they used cardboard and little rubber things that you used to tighten up your box of packages. So these guys are flying away, and the supervisor asked me, which one of these guys do you think is the biggest earner? It was hard to tell. I mean, they looked like they were just frantic. So I couldn't tell who would get as many boxes packed more than the others. But one guy on the line, I said, that guy there seems like he's not going as fast as the others. He looks like he's going slow, and he's not even sweating. And he said to me, that guy is the biggest earner and has been all the time he's been here. And I said, I don't understand that. He said, well, he's shell-shocked. He had his marbles scrambled during the Korean War. And so he's operating from a different level altogether. He said he's probably a packing savant. He never hesitates at which box. He never has to go back for a second box. He never dithers about where the product should go in the box, the different products. He never does. He just goes straight to it in his own orderly manner, as though he's packed the same box every day, but he hasn't, because every box is different, the orders are different. So it was rather amazing to watch this, and it turned out that this guy, he said, this guy has never had a box returned in the 2 years that he's been here. Well, you see, what would happen is once they packed their boxes and sealed it, they'd put it on the conveyor, and the conveyor would go down toward the loading area where it either went on a truck or a train. But before it did, there's a guy down there that would take the box and shake it. If he heard anything inside that box would go on another conveyor and go back up to the shipping department where it would have to be repacked. And you can imagine the stress and the consternation if you had to repack a box because you're working against the clock. And so it just was like that. And that was my first experience in understanding the power of the mind. This guy, I talked to him, they had 2 mandatory breaks, 2 mandatory 20-minute breaks, and a half-hour break for lunch. You had to take it, by the way. You couldn't be packing. So I had a chance to talk to this packer that was shell-shocked, and he didn't remember very much about what happened to him, except that he was blown up. A mortar shell blew him up and all the guys around him. And he said, God saved my life. And but as I look back at that situation, which was very curious to me, I was always interested in the idea of the mind's power. And here was a situation where it was being proved every day by this guy who moved so clearly, methodically, knowingly, with situations that are just totally spontaneous. Every order is a completely spontaneous thing that you have to figure out how to put the products in these boxes and then seal that box so that it doesn't rattle at all. And then you seal it and put it on the conveyor. In fact, he was the first person I'd ever met. I didn't know anything about it at the time, but living in the power of now. He was living in the absolute power of now. And so here was something going on with the mind that indicates the essential truth that is so difficult for people, I think, mostly in the Western culture, but maybe throughout the world. So difficult for people to understand how the intuition in the power of now, in the awareness of the consciousness divine, prevails over intellectual logic. That is an absolute truth. And all the masters down through the ages will testify to that truth. Intuition prevails in getting things accomplished in a meaningful, harmonious way over any of the book learning, logic, computers that people use to try to figure out how to get things done in an efficient manner. In the highest state of awareness, that God-conscious state, one is operating from a perspective from the all-knowing consciousness of God, which is creation ongoing, not the creator who created this separate creation and is somehow or other, in some people's minds, watching over it to make sure we do the right thing. It's the creator in operation. The creator is life, and it can become life truly worth living as each person or any person aligns his or her awareness with that consciousness. So you have heard me give lots of examples about divine awareness, which is, again, the intuition. I told you about beating the chess champion in New York City. Well, he was second place junior chess champion. And I wasn't even playing the game. I wasn't even there. It just was taking place through me. And I've had so many different intuitive things occur throughout the years and years that I've been involved in ministry, and I've spoken about them quite often. But to me, the most profound idea of this intuitive or divine consciousness performing came to me through Edgar Cayce's work. Edgar Cayce, in my opinion, was the most amazing, second most amazing human being that ever walked on this planet. I know you can talk about your superstar evangelists and would-be psychics and everything. Nobody comes close to do what Cayce did under the expression of the legal society, the medical society, overlooking what he did and walking away, shaking their heads because they could not debunk him. All right, so he was an extraordinary person, and what he was capable of doing was laying aside his conscious mind. His trance state was one in which he laid aside the conscious mind, and what came through him was what was referred to as source. And you could say source is God, or you can say source is the higher level of vibratory awareness. You can call source whatever you want, but it is an extraordinary, omnipresent intelligence. And that was that intelligence that came through Cayce, who also spoke about intuition being the key to mankind's arrival in that higher state that is referred to as heaven. That it is the intuition that ultimately will prevail to alleviate the many problems and suffering that humanity faces. So that's really what I'm talking about today, and I want to share with you the Master Eckhart Tolle speaking to this idea. Can we have this first PowerPoint? This is from Stillness Speaks on page 13, paragraph 2. In you, as in each human being, there is a dimension of consciousness far deeper than thought. It is the very essence of who you are. We may call it presence, awareness, the unconditioned consciousness. In the ancient teachings, it is the Christ within, or your Buddha nature. So he's saying the God nature, which is our core nature. But we have, as a race, slipped away from our alignment with that. So we're not operating from the intuitive higher awareness. Not a lot. But I guess we all do on occasion arrive at that place where we get an insight or a flash on something, and it turns out to be something very true, and it happens to be important or works things out for us. But this is why down through the ages the masters advocate meditation. Because in meditation, what actually is taking place is we are agreeing to allow the incessant thinking of the mind to relax. Just allowing it to relax. We're not resisting it in the sense of trying to stop it, but allowing it just to relax and allowing this natural divine essence or vibration or presence to rise within us. And when that happens, here's the interesting thing when that happens, and all of you that have been here a while and are meditating know this. When that happens, even to a small degree, you feel good. You enjoy that moment or those moments where you're no longer involved in thinking and cogitating and trying to figure things out. So it's advocated by the masters down through the age of meditation, because even when you don't feel like anything is happening, what is happening is that this core nature is rising into expression, and that's really the goal of our spiritual journey. That is the heaven, the kingdom of God that is within us. And that's what we are opening ourselves to on this spiritual journey. Let me share this as well with you from, this is the Master Emerson. This is from the book, The Gospel of Emerson, page 43, paragraphs 1 and 2. This inquiry, it should be this, he's made an inquiry into what really is the most necessary thing for people to do. This inquiry leads us to that source, at once the essence of genius, of virtue, and of life, which we call wisdom or instinct. We denote this primary wisdom as intuition, whilst all later teachings are tuitions. In that deep force, the last fact behind which analysis cannot go, and that word should be beyond which analysis cannot go, all things find their common origin. There is one great source of all, special manifestations of spirit. This spirit is self-renewed in each one who will listen to wisdom from within, intuitions, and can go out from the receiver to help the world, tuitions, made clearly by exactly fitting words. This shows the real self on which men shall rely. Again, he's a believer. Emerson's, you read his stuff, he's a believer in the evolution of humanity, that in order for it to arrive in that higher destiny will ultimately come into the intuitive consciousness. And you will, in the beginning, call that psychic or telepathic consciousness, because it is so keenly one with the one intelligence that is present in every moment, in every person, in every place. So he's referring to this intuition. I have seen and experienced extraordinary things take place, especially, I remember one day I have a hunting knife, and the top of it has a screw on it, and you can unscrew it, and you can put matches in there, stick matches, if you're going on a hike, or you can put other things in there that you want to take on a hike, and you screw the top closed. It's a dark black knife with this handle. I lost the top to that while hiking through the woods around my house. I mean, I'm up there hiking and I lost it. And I had Tyler come over, and he was with me, and I used to take him when he was younger to go on adventures outside my house and to do climbing things together and stuff like that. And I said to him, you know, I lost the top to my knife. And I said it jokingly, so make sure you find it. There's no way in creation that he would, in those woods where I go spontaneously wherever we go, that he would find it. I'm going to blow your mind now. I'm going to blow your mind. This is true. I don't come here and share with you things that didn't happen. He finds the top to that knife in the woods. Now you say, oh my God, that's like pretty extraordinary. Try this. I lost the top again in the woods months later. And when I had Tyler come up, we went for our hike, and we did our climbing, he found that top again. Tyler's a pretty awesome kid because he's not quite here as kids his age are. He is kind of like, he has an affinity with animals, all kinds of creatures. If you're with him, creatures will come to him. Birds will fly and land on him. So he's got an extraordinary contact with this universal source. And so I'm here explaining to you that anyone can experience the higher level of awareness. And the wonderful part about it is that just in touching on it in meditation, you feel good. And that comes back down to what I'm always saying, that to feel good is to feel God. Now imagine that we would evolve to such a place where conditions and circumstances outside of us would no longer hold sway over the way we are going to react emotionally. So as we grow up in the initial state of consciousness or awareness of the intellect developing to its point where it believes it is God and it is not, but when we get, as we go through that, we are simply reacting to circumstances in the illusion that circumstances cause how I feel. Good circumstances, I feel good when things are going according to what I define as good circumstances. When they're not going according to what my expectations are, my desires, my demands, I don't feel good. And I can feel lousy, I can feel angry, I can feel vengeance. But I'm blaming it on conditions and circumstances. You're not in mastery as long as you are living in those illusions. That is simply the way life is. And we are supposed to have been awake enough in the illusionary lifestyle that we finally recognize it does not bring the feeling of joy or goodness that is not contingent on circumstances. That is God consciousness. So that one who is practicing introspection, meditation, one arrives eventually at a place where one recognizes Conditions and circumstances do not necessarily have to hold sway over the way one feels. Because if you recognize you are one with God, always one with God, always accepted, regardless of all the mistakes one may have made, regardless of all the illusions one may embrace, you are divine in origin. And all we are doing on the spiritual journey is seeking to become divine in expression. And that takes a certain devotion. And here's the hard or high hurdle on that path to divine awareness. Right now, just say to yourself, before I say this, just ask yourself, and answer it yourself. Do you believe that what I just said to you in this talk is true? Now I say that the highest hurdle on the path to the enlightened state of consciousness is humility. It is a very hard thing to do. It requires faith to begin to step out away from the ego-centered definition of knowledge, which is intellectual, logically. It's hard to step away from logic in such a manner as to be free of the concerns that logic provides. Reasoning from a world-thinking standpoint brings about fear, worry, and concern. But if you enter into your divine estate and you know your soul awareness, your eternal soul consciousness, then you are free of being tossed to and fro by every changing tide of circumstance. It is, in a sense, you have mastered the initial state of consciousness, which is ego-centered, illusionary ideas of life. So in saying this, that the highest hurdle is humility, you'll better understand this from Eckhart Tolle. This is again, Stillness Speaks on page 23. Become at ease with the state of not knowing. This takes you beyond mind because the mind is always trying to conclude and interpret. It is afraid of not knowing. So, when you can be at ease with not knowing, you have already gone beyond the mind. A deeper knowing that is conceptual then arises out of that state. Artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling, mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all, or at least is taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you, and yet one with you, in essence, takes over. Can we take this back again, please? Become at ease with the state of not knowing. This takes you beyond mind because the mind is always trying to conclude and interpret. It is afraid of not knowing. So when you can be at ease with not knowing, you have already gone beyond the mind. A deeper knowing that is non-conceptual then arises out of that state. Artistic creation, sports, dance, teaching, counseling, mastery in any field of endeavor implies that the thinking mind is either no longer involved at all, or at least is taking second place. A power and intelligence greater than you, and yet one with you, in essence, takes over. So there's the high hurdle on the journey. It can only be gotten over through spiritual practice, meditation. Very quickly, I'm just going to run this down because I spoke about Edgar Cayce, and he's giving this. I mean, he is an amazing master. If you want to read about phenomena, read one of the books about Edgar Cayce. There is a River, an American prophet. Anyway, this comes from the Edgar Cayce readings. Intuitive forces are developed more by the introspective activities of a conscious mind. Hence, the ability of those of any cult or any group of people who by constant introspection through entering into the silence are able to bring to the surface the activities of the entity as a whole. The more and more each is impelled by that which is intuitive or relying upon the soul force within, the greater, the further, the deeper, the broader, the more constructive may be the result. Okay. So instead of talking about it, we're going to participate in it, meditation. And just the inclination to want to meditate is something that is going to improve our ability to understand life as it evolves. So let's take a couple of deep breaths. And as you release the breath, see if you can bring yourself to feeling okay, just as you are. Because it's only what I said in the beginning, stress is self-imposed. It's a mental construct about what took place in the past or what you're concerned about in the future. And it's always about concern, concern, concern. So now just feel okay. Not knowing, not wanting, not fearing, not grasping, allowing, just allowing this moment to be what it is. While we listen to the tone of this crystal bowl. this gentle mantra. I accept each here and now moment, knowing it is also God. I accept each here and now moment, knowing it is also God. I accept each here and now moment, knowing it is also God. as we go forth from this meditation to those places we occupy in time and space. Let us go forth with a greater determination to be present and awake while living. For this opportunity in every moment, we give thanks. And to this, we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. And as we're preparing to do this, I'm going to remind you that we have our group discussion in Fellowship Hall. We also have refreshments in there. I think they're going to be in there at this first service. The refreshments will not be in there in the second service. Look at that. At the second service, the refreshments are going to be in the lobby because at the second service, Tintisha is doing a very special thing. She's taking a survey, and I really wish any of you that can make it to the second service would make it there. She's taking a survey of all the members that'll be there at the second service. And then we're going to have a discussion about that survey in Fellowship Hall. Everyone will be open to share. So right now, let us bring into our minds and our hands that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless the gift with this offering prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. Join me now, please. We dedicate the tithe we have taken to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, and the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen. Okay, do we have any announcements? Okay. Yeah, I really invite you all.
There's a survey at the back of your handout. If you wouldn't mind filling it out and leaving it with us, you can just leave it on the table or you can bring it into the bookstore. We're taking all of your suggestions very seriously right now, Anthony.
Where are those surveys?
They're connected to their handouts on the back of their handout.
Oh, you've got one. All right, good. That'd be great. You can fill that out and turn it in. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.